baseball, not always the best team wins, right? You got to still go out there and get it done.
Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast Baseball Talk. Glad you're joining with us. As always, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. We're leading off with the Arch Madness. We'll be heading down to BOA, that is Ballparks of America, for the spring ring at the end of April. We got the Cinco de Mayo, which is always fun. And we'll be mid-May with our good buddy, Matt Shadow, and the Midland Invitational. We've been out doing that one with him for the last, since it started, actually, with Game 7 Baseball. Always fun to check it out, and had a great conversation with him and Josh Stahl this past weekend as well. So, hey, it's that time. It's go time. Hey, and I appreciate everybody jumping into the 14U Super 7 Invitational. The invites were out. We're going to have a lot of fun at that event. Looking forward to it. Our Saturdays at the park, we got a great lineup of stuff. We got even some new stuff coming, so make sure you check that out. We'll see you guys at the ballpark. Remember, game7baseball.com. If you're a social person, you want to follow us on X at YBM_cast. If you want to follow us on IG, Facebook, or TikTok, or all of the above, that's good too. But IG, Facebook, TikTok is at Youth Baseball Midwest. We appreciate it. We're dropping a lot of our short interviews that we've been at all these different events. Getting a chance to see all these kids and talk to them. It's been a lot of fun. We got another big round that is coming up from the last All-State Invitational event with Kevin Moulder. We had a great time out there. We're rocking the RBC kids right now, so it's a lot of fun talking to these kids. So check that out. And as we speak, let me introduce on our Prime Sports call link, head coach, Principia High School. That's different. Dave Wiggins, also the RBC director. Hey, what's up, Dave?
How's it going?
All One Direction. And that's not just a boy band.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of.
And as always, scouting director of Prep Baseball Missouri, the guru himself, Mr. Kevin Moulder. How's it going, buddy? And you know, folks, he's running all over the country. We get him in this space of time. So I appreciate you being here, bud.
Glad to be here. Doing well.
Good. All right, guys. We're getting right down to it. We're gonna start with our season opener. I'm looking forward to this. We're going to be heading down to Springfield, Missouri, and I'm sorry, Coach McGee, Willard, Missouri, for our season opener. Marshfield is going to be visiting Willard, and we're going to take a look at this matchup. We're going to talk about some players. We're going to get a look at some of this. For us and what we've done here, this is a top 10 matchup early in the season in Class 5. Kevin, I know you don't necessarily just go, oh yeah, you don't necessarily go class by class, but agree, disagree with that? Couple of top 10 teams here in Class 5?
Yeah, this is a strong matchup. For certain, these teams are both certainly talking about a Final Four state championship type run. I'm sure that's what they're talking about, as they prepare for the season, and they have the talent certainly to do that. As we dive into these rosters, it'll be clear why you're heading down there. You certainly picked a good one to open up with.
Dave, you saw this Willard team 2 years. Oh gosh, it's working on 3 years now, right?
Yeah, three springs ago. 24.
3 springs
Yeah,
ago.
24.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the way it is. 24, 25, 26. It is like that, right? Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
And, Coach McGee, he always has his team ready to play. Your takeaways, I know this is not something for folks. I'm probably opening up some wounds here. I'm not trying to, but it just gets your take when you saw that squad at the championships.
Yeah, they were just a really complete team. They could put the ball in play up and down the lineup. They could play really good defense. They there's just not a whole lot that they did poorly. They run a system there that those kids have bought into, and they run it really well. Their catcher was highly athletic, and he did some great things. And the two names you had for us to talk about on that team were Levi Hilton, who started the game as a sophomore against us. He was 85, 87 that day, and Jarrett McGee, Coach McGee's son, who had the game-winning hit off us. So, I opened up that attachment. I'm like, oh, man, do I really want to come on here and talk about these guys?
Sorry, Dave.
No, it's really it was once in a life. Hopefully not once in a lifetime. It was a really really cool experience for us, and getting matched up with those guys in the championship, and just the class that they exude, and how they've been there and done it before, and us kind of being the new guys there. It was a really cool experience, and just a great baseball team that was very complete. They were up and down. Their rotation, I mean, they had guys that threw against us that didn't even have a ton of innings, that were still really, really good and pounded the strike zone, and made us beat them at the plate. And it's high school baseball. If you throw strikes and you can throw more than 2 or 3 pitches around the zone, and you have a defense, you can be successful. And that's kind of how they were. They used their 1 and 2 in the prior 2 games. So Levi essentially got like the opener start as a sophomore, and then they brought in Kalen, the senior. It's Kalen Adams, and he was brilliant. And they had more behind him. So, yeah, they probably could have beat us again.
Kevin, Levi Hilton is definitely the ace of this staff, isn't he?
He is, but like Coach Wiggins said, Willard always has good depth. And I mentioned before we got on air that Dave and I were both out watching the Maryville Central Missouri team game yesterday, and Willard reminds me, they don't play exactly how Central Missouri does, but it's a little bit of the same thing. They have a system on offense, and they're always going to be highly competitive because they play their game and their system really well. And then if you give Coach McGee talented players, then it's going to be like a team that has a chance to win a state championship. But they're always like, their floor is really high. And I know Coach Wiggins does something very similar, or he did when he was at Webster Groves. Has a nice system in his offense where they have the ability to score runs without getting a hit. And if they mix in some hits, they're going to have the ability to get a big inning. And Willard does that probably as good as anyone in the state, I would say. I don't know if Coach Wiggins, you agree with the line of thought here?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was fun going head to head with them because they didn't have any big name offensive players really, compared to Zumwalt South and compared to Kearney. Um, they were, like I said, they were all just very solid baseball players, but there wasn't one hitter where you're like, man, we really need to watch out for him. He could leave the yard at any second, but we knew that 1 through 9 were going to give us a heck of a time. And if they got on base, we were going to have to be really good at stopping the run game and stopping the small ball game. And, we worked on special trick plays we'd heard that they'd used on other teams in the past out in a church outfield, like 10 minutes from our hotel. We tried to be as prepared as we could be. But yeah, just very, like you said, very well coached and very together as a unit.
The offense, of course, we Jared McGee, but offensively, this team is going to be very solid. I mean, there's one young man that I remember when we were down there a couple of years ago doing the game was Cade Hayter, and he was a sophomore then, and now he's a senior. This young man has had a pretty good career there, and it's guys like this. Most people don't know these names at all with Willard, and I think that's what to me is kind of stands out is this is a team that is just there every year, and people are like, who are these guys? Right?
So yeah, and they do a great job of developing their young men, and Cade is a super talented player, well-rounded guy, 6'7" runner, can get to triple digits and during BP exit velo, throws it really well from across the diamond. So great athlete, and what Coach McGee does a really good job of with that Willard program is he'll find a role for him as young guys, as a freshman or as a sophomore, and it might not be a key role. When I say key, I should use the word large role, but he has them do that role as a young player, and then when they become a key player on the team, they're kind of used to being a varsity player, know what to expect, and I think he does a really good job of finding everybody a role within that program, so everyone knows what the expectations are.
Yeah. Yeah. Some other names that we're going to see, maybe you're not as familiar with, folks, but Tyler Davis, Jack Anderson, Hunter Kelly is a kid I remember, Kyler Adams. There's also a junior, Matt Burns, that I think is going to play a pretty good role for this squad. Kevin, what do you think?
Yes, I agree. And they have some good young arms that we've talked about with Coach McGee that are upper 80s type arms. Now they haven't done it yet on the varsity level. So we'll see, how that plays out. But as we've just talked about, they have a lot of depth, and they do a good job of developing. So we know that they'll be right in the mix.
Now we're going to be heading down to Springfield actually this weekend. We're going to make some rounds, go check out where talk with Coach Julian. We're going to head down. Hopefully we're getting a matchup on our calendar. We got to make sure we can get this done, but we're looking for a matchup between Seneca and Aurora in Class 4, which I think will be a lot of fun. We're always looking for different things like that, teams that people haven't, but Seneca, that program's really good down there. The Hound Dogs, they've been good for quite some time. So we're looking forward to some of these things, but we're going to make a stop at Marshfield, talk with Coach Pate down there. That Marshfield squad, they're returning, I think, everybody, but maybe one or two guys from that run. And right off the get, we saw this young man this weekend, Kevin Hunter Fryman.
Nope. Yeah, I know Hunter well. He was a member of our senior future games team. What's fun about Hunter is, he's not a catcher or a shortstop or a left fielder. He's a ball player. He is the definition of a ball player. He'll play any of the position on the field, more or less. Committed to Davidson in the fall. I should say signed with Davidson in the fall. High academic young man, can really hit, and he's kind of the star. He kind of makes that Marshfield team go.
Yeah. We saw him last year. Dave, I'm not quite sure how much you know about these young guys with Marshfield.
Obviously, I know Fryman just coaching kids in his class and going toe to toe with some of those teams over the years. Yeah, very, very talented individual who can play all over the field. When you're talking about being able to play catcher and shortstop, not only have an athlete, but you have a ball player there. Yeah, I really like the way he swings the bat. He'll get on the mound too and probably chuck it upper 80s. I mean, he can do it all. And Marshfield's really going to need him to be that jack of all trades, I think. They have some other talented players on that team, but he's definitely the frontline guy there.
And Kevin, another young man we saw this past weekend from Marshfield. I think there was a few of them there, but 27 stood out. Jace, I believe that's pronounced Badkey.
Yes, Batke.
And he had a pretty good showing at the event. And but again, another young kid that got some experience with this squad, returning as a junior, bigger, stronger, better. Your thoughts on Mr. Badke?
Yeah, it's going to be more than just Hunter Fryman. And Jace is an infielder, super talented kid, also pretty toolsy, well-rounded, also gets up on the mound and is a, low to mid 80s type guy on the mound, but can run a little bit. And from the left side at that. So I would expect that he'll play a big role on the mound and in the middle of that lineup for Marshfield.
There's a couple other sophomores I think that'll be, or juniors that I think will be interesting too. James Edgman and Trenton Rosenthal, I think will play a pretty good role with this. And then you also have seniors, Keegan Reynolds. Kevin, what can you tell us about Mr. Reynolds?
Corner guy for Marshfield, kind of a physical presence that kind of gives them a middle of the lineup presence for Marshfield there. And it's nice when you can start stacking multiple hitters beyond Fryman and Radke. When you get some depth to the lineup, that makes it tough on pitchers, and that's one of the things that's made Marshfield successful is they have some length in their lineup, and Reynolds certainly is a big piece of that.
Here's the other factor in this that I think is very interesting. If all this stays the same, and you can talk about this from a coach's perspective, Dave. We were talking with Coach McGee about this, and the district assignments will drop Friday morning, like I think they said 7 a.m., something like that. This game's being played on Thursday night, season opener. These two teams were both in District 6 last year. There's going to be some changes, maybe some difference. They'll probably end up in the same district. Maybe not, depending upon what happens with Lebanon. There's some movement still. We'll see how it all shakes out. How do you deal with that as a coach? These are, you're talking about two teams with championship aspirations, Dave. As a coach, how do you think about that part of it?
When you're in those district meetings at the end of the season, head-to-head record against the other, your district opponent is the number one factor. That, and then your record against like opponents. So I'm going into that game probably throwing my best, knowing that I really have to win if I want the 1 seed, or the 2 or the 3, given who else is in that district. And you know what? If Friday morning rolls around and we got the dub on Thursday night and they're not in our district, I still feel pretty good about that win. But I just don't think you can leave anything to chance there, because head-to-head is so important, unless you play them 3 times this spring, and that's only the first of 3 meetings. But you got to figure Marshfield's going to come with their best. And, I would assume that Hilton's on the bump for Willard that game, and Marshfield's won. Probably Badke. I think he was a first team all conference and an honorable mention state as a sophomore. He's probably towing the rubber for Marshfield. So you picked a good one to go to.
Well, and that's the thing, there's so much here, and you're right. They're only going to play the once because Willard's in the COC, the Central Ozark, and Marshfield's Ozark Mountain Conference. So they're different conferences. This one here to me is really, you don't see this kind of matchup as early in the season. It's one of those, it's like, dang, there's a lot going here.
I think something that is often overlooked is, sometimes you're worried about throwing the same arm against the same team, right?
Uh-huh.
And I look at it more, especially with an earlier season game, I look at it more as, okay, how are they going to hit this arm? How are they going to approach my guy? How are we going to attack them this time through? Do we need to change the game plan 2 months from now? Can we stick with what we did? Did it work? I think there's information that can be gathered by throwing the same arm versus trying to, save or hide your best arm against an opponent you might see later. You could gain information that you might not have if he didn't throw. So that's kind of a different perspective, and that's what we did, and that's kind of what Burrows did against us in 24. We threw Torvik against Burrows in the regular season, and they threw Chapman, and both those matched up again in the district championship, and we got a lot of information about Burrow's hitters off Jackson Torvik in that first game. It really helped us when we had to beat him again.
Yeah.
So,
especially when the games are, fairly well spaced out. You're playing right off that first week of the season. It might mean something a little different if you're facing them back-to-back weeks or back-to-back. You're pitching someone on Monday and then you're coming back with them on Saturday or whatever. That might make a little more of a difference, but when you're spaced out a couple months, I agree with Coach Wiggins. And it's the opener. I think you want to set the tone for the season. Yeah. Everyone's going to be charged up. It helps when you have an ace because nothing settles a team down more than when you can go out and grab a couple early zeros and kind of calm everything. I love opening day, but as a coach, there was some things I didn't like about it because I feel like the guys are so charged up and maybe playing outside themselves a little bit. When you got a true number one that can go steady the ship, that can really be helpful to calm some nerves on opening day.
Well,
folks,
I'll
come on the record and say this. There's certain arms that we faced, say CJ Lake threw against us on Tuesday one week. If I knew he was throwing the next week against us again, I would feel no better about facing CJ Lake. So there's some arms where it really doesn't matter. You could throw that dude 5 times in a row against us, and it wouldn't change the outcome. So
unless he was just having a really bad day.
It hasn't happened in 3 years against us.
Oh man. Well, we do. I think I'm excited for this one. We're working hard to create opportunities for games like this because this is what's fun. Our game of the week. So make sure, folks, this is March 19th. If you're not in the Willard area, you're not part of that, tune in. This is, if you just are a fan of high school baseball, you got to watch this game. It's going to be fantastic. It's just one of those games that I think it is that good. And so there you go. But before we get into some of these other things real quick, we're going to talk about some players here. I want to, hang on, let me pull this up real quick, guys. Sorry. I thought I had it up already, and I didn't. You want to go to our website, youthbaseballmidwest.com. You can see we've got a list of our game of the week roster. Of course, Marshfield at Willard. Here's one that I think is going to be fantastic in week 2. Probably most people don't know, some, especially over here, don't know about these teams. Blair Oaks at Boonville. Coach Simpson over there with Boonville, that's a good baseball team. And Blair Oaks is probably a team, we saw Wyatt Libert this past weekend. And, Nelly, he looked pretty good, didn't he, Kevin?
Yeah, yes, he did. Shout out to Keith Jackson there. Yes, Wyatt's kind of been a staple. I feel like the Lippert last name has been a staple for Blair Oaks for a good long time now, and Wyatt's carrying the load for them right now. Big physical, 6'4" right-hander. It's going to be in the upper 80s with a pretty good breaking ball. So he'll be the tone setter for that Blair Oaks team, who we've talked about at length. Before, they're always super competitive. They take on all comers regardless of class, and they're one of the staples. They're in the middle of the Show Me State.
And the thing of it is, Lippert, we saw him last year. We were at Blair Oaks for our season opener with Francis Borgia, and he still hadn't filled out his frame. When I saw him this last week, he was pretty filled out. He is thickened up quite a bit.
He's a big fella. Ooh. Yes. Different body type than his brother Will. Bigger, broader shoulders, more physical. Mm-hmm. Both get it done. Will's thrown in the mid 90s now and is a weekend starter down at Ole Miss. Younger brother hasn't got to that point yet, but he's well on his way.
Yeah. Week 3, we're going to be heading over to Lee Summit. And Liberty North will be visiting the Tigers over there. This is going to be a fun matchup. Some names to watch here in this game. Definitely William Bologna. We talked about that young man. We talked to both of them while we were there over at Lee Summit. Oh gosh, his name just went out of my head. He's their center fielder. Oh my gosh.
Well, I'll talk about Bologna while you think of that for a moment.
Yes.
But Bologna is a dynamic middle infielder for him, shortstop. We talked about ball players earlier with Hunter Fryman. William Bologna is also the definition of a ball player, just hard-nosed, shortstop, can hit towards the top of the lineup, spray the ball all over the field, and put together a really nice at-bat. So I'm a huge fan of William Bologna.
Absolutely. Micah Patterson, folks. That's the young man's name. Dave, you look like you've seen him before.
Yeah, we traveled up to Kansas City a number of times throughout our 2026 baseball adventures. Patterson's a great ball player, left-handed stick, outfielder, pitches a little bit too. Oh man, headed to Evansville, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's dynamic and he just, when he was 15, 16, he wasn't as physical as he is now, but he was just so technically sound with everything that he did. He just always played a high level. He was always tough to beat. Bologna going off to Bradley and Troy Fisher. I think it cut out when you said Troy's last name. I didn't fully hear it. So, for those who didn't hear, Liberty North also has Troy Fisher, who's a highly athletic and physical middle infielder headed off to Arkansas. So that should be fun.
I said this to Dave off camera, Kevin. To me, Liberty North is as stacked as a Francis Howell or a Eureka in this area. I think that on that side of the state, that is the team to beat.
From a talent standpoint, I would agree. I would give the edge to Francis Howell in the experience factor on the mound. Now, as we recall, a couple of their top arms went down right around postseason time last year. But Howell has two senior pitchers that have been through the wars of varsity baseball, that are Power 4 commits, that I think gives them the edge. And Liberty North has the arm talent, but not quite as much experience at the top. But yes, they're one of the more talented teams, period. Hard stop in the state.
Hard stop. I love it. Absolutely. And this matchup here, Dominic Thompson over there at Lee Summit, I'm looking forward to that. We had a good conversation. Coach Melody, they got a great facility over there too, man. Built it up. I love the fields over there. We go over there all the time, man. It's good stuff. So you got that. Then we come back, week 4, Zumwalt West at Francis Howell, the game. So I'm going to throw this at you, Dave. It's your boys, and they
Want to
keep
set a
giving.
run line, Brian?
What's the over under? No, we're not going to do that, folks. We don't bet. No, I tell you, it don't matter who's up or down in this. I think this is one of those rivalries. It don't matter. It's chippy. It's hard nosed. These two teams. There's a lot of kids that are friends off the field, but they are not friends on the field. And it's just one of those games, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. You have kids who grew up playing baseball with and against each other from the time they were 8 years old, on the field together, battling it out. A lot of them, their last year doing it. Another good portion of them, their second to last year doing it. Howell's definitely got the edge, pitching wise, depth wise. I think we could all agree there. I think Zumwalt West lineup is a little more experienced and maybe a little bit more explosive, for lack of a better term. You're going to have a lot of hitters in the Howell lineup that haven't had varsity experience, and if they have, it's just been a handful of at bats. I think you can find 5 or 6 hitters in the Zumi West lineup who've got a good number of varsity at bats under their belt, but they're just two highly talented teams, two teams that are, like you said, always going to be up to task when they play each other. Whether the game's at Howell or Zumwalt West, both fields kind of feel like a home field advantage for the home team. Always a large crowd. Yes, lots of emotion, lots of chippiness going on. But yeah, get your popcorn because that'll be a good one. It's probably it's gonna be Curtis or Brett Schneider on the bump against Pyle. That's gonna be an absolute. It's gonna be a thriller. It's gonna be fun.
I runs are going to be a premium, wouldn't you think, Kevin?
You never know early, but yes, I would think it should be a tight, highly competitive baseball game. And some of the best players in the area will be on the field, so that'll be a real fun matchup. Arguably the matchup of the year, in the St. Louis area.
I want to see how Bogard does. Jack Bogard jumped on the scene, freshman, starting at shortstop. It'll be interesting to see, can he avoid, I know people go, oh, you're putting the kibosh. No. It just either happens. Sometimes, it's weird. These kids have these, they come onto the scene, the sophomore slump. How does that work?
So he's a different, it can happen, but he's kind of a different type player. He's going to put together consistent at bats and grind it out. He's not like your power hitting type guy. I would expect him to stay within his game, but you look at that Howell lineup, especially, I don't know how they'll lay it out, but you got Bogard, Brady Tanner, AJ Jones. Those are kind of 3 guys that I'd like to hit in the top 2 right there. It'll be interesting to see if they go 1, 2, 3, but those are similar type guys in the fact that they can hurt you, but they're going to all grind out at bats and put together really good at bats, which, Coach Perkins and Francis Howell is well known for. Mm-hmm. And those guys all have some ability to hit on top of it. So that's a pretty stout start to a lineup for sure.
And to your point, and Dave, I think this is interesting because, you bring up 5 or 6. I think offensively, both these teams are pretty similar right now. I would agree. I think that the top 3 with Pyle, or I should say Sissom, Pyle and Wolf probably have a little more pop than the, Tanner, Jones and Bogard. And I think, and then the rest of the lineup with both teams, I think it's going to be interesting who takes charge, where do they fit? I think both teams are similar in that respect. Personally, that's just from my what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I agree with you. My thought was you do have more thump there in the middle with Pyle, Sissom, and Wolf, and even Fiala. You have home run power out of all four of those guys. I was highly impressed with Jack Bogard, not only as a hitter but as an infielder. He
Right.
is he's impressive. He was fun to watch. The times that I got to see him, and just to be able to do it at that level as a freshman, sliding right into shortstop there, filling Titus Sissle's shoes. That was pretty cool, and he did a great job of that. So kudos to him.
Absolutely.
They're on a pretty good run because their shortstops date back a long way. Jake McCutcheon, Titus Sissel. Now you're handing over to Bogard. They've been in good hands for a long time.
It's pretty impressive. Week 5, guys, we're heading across the river into the land of Lincoln. And I think we got a pretty good one here with Edwardsville at O'Fallon Township. I know that, this is our first time we've actually done a game of the week like that over on the other side, but how can you not do this one? I mean, this is basically 2 weeks in a row. You look at Liberty North, Lee Summit, then you go Zumwalt West and Francis Howell. This is on similar legs here with Edwardsville O'Fallon as the week before. Wouldn't you agree?
I would. This is a heavyweight matchup on the Illinois side, and sat with Coach Funkhauser yesterday at the Central Missouri game. He was out watching his son play for the Mules and talked to Coach Funkhauser about his team, and also recently saw one of his top sophomores and Nick Sciarotto, two-way guy, a lot of talent there, upper 80s arm, and can also swing the bat. So I'm sure he'll be making an impact on that varsity team. But, if we're going to talk about who's been the class of the St. Louis metro area, Edwardsville has to be thrown way up into that conversation. Multiple state championships over the past 5 years out of Illinois with Edwardsville. So they're certainly one of the true heavyweights, not only in the St. Louis area, but just in the Midwest in general.
Dave, your thoughts?
Yeah, you want to talk pitching depth? Fallon has pitching depth up and down their classes. They got a great senior class. Anthony Perez, dynamic lefty. Dylan Jantz is healthy. Man, there are 26s that oh man, what's his name? He's really good too. I think they used him a lot out of the pen last year.
It's like the song, the country song, right? The baseball song. We got a great pitcher. What's his name? You know what I'm saying? Hey, coach, put me in. Yes.
Hey, coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm blanking. The kid's really, really good. They've got, the Vanderhayden kid who got lots of innings as a freshman last year. I'd compare them to Francis Howell when it comes to pitching depth over on the Illinois side. Like
really?
They have a lot of absolutely. Yeah, they have guys that I didn't even name because their names escape me. And then offensively, they're really, really good. That's going to be a good matchup. That is, two very well coached teams with lots of talent, lots of depth, and I guarantee that kind of rivalry feel between those two is definitely there, like you have with the Jags and the Vikings.
Not to mention the catcher, Asher Cantu.
Mm-hmm.
That kid is huge, man. He is a dude. And
he's physical. He can swing the bat. We just worked him out about a week ago. He stands out. Good throwing arm, strong throwing arm, I should say, and he throws that barrel around a little bit.
So what do we got? We got seniors here. Let me see if these names stand out to you. Carson Bauer.
Sorry. My fault.
Nah, Cole Becker, Tyson Filia.
Filia, he could chuck it. He's an upper 80s guy.
Dylan Jantz. Seneca.
Is the one I was thinking of.
Sam McCullum.
Yeah, he's really good.
Head to Drury University. Yeah.
I mean,
So
go through the list. You're going to name 10 of them. You're going to name 10 dudes that are 85 plus offerings. Like it's pretty impressive.
Caleb Weber, you got Braden Rock. They got a ton of seniors. This is a senior heavy class. And so that's why I think it's interesting, whereas Edwardsville's a little younger, but man, they're super talented. But you still have what's Eberlin, right?
Yes.
For Edwardsville, that's
TCU.
Right. So my goodness, we could see that kind of matchup on that side of it. It's going to be very interesting. Again, these are true. This is what we looked at when I wanted to set these are game of the week. This is game of the week, baby. This is no holds barred. This is the heavyweights chucking it around at each other. Let's see who stands up. And not to mention, this is rivalry stuff right here, bro.
Edwardsville's deep too, obviously, with Hunter Baugh on the mound, highly talented middle infielder pitcher going to Wood. A young man, Chase Milburn, who got a lot of varsity innings as a sophomore, I think might have dealt with injury last year, but he's a big frame guy, only 82, 84 as a sophomore, but absolutely pitched his brains off. I mean, had a minuscule ERA, can just flat out cut, run, sink the baseball, command it. If he's healthy and he's back, you figure he'll be an upper 80s, touching low 90s guy by this point. Yeah, it's those two teams right there. They rival pretty much any team that we could find here in the St. Louis, Missouri side metro area for sure.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, Edwardsville, they play an unbelievably difficult schedule. We not only have Edwardsville, in week 2, we open with our season openers, Marshfield and whatnot. The next week on that Friday night is Francis Howell. We're gonna go and live stream Francis Howell at Edwardsville. That is March 27th. So make sure again. I know you think, how's that not a game of the week? Well, there you go.
Cross-state rivalry there.
Yeah. That's because I'm giving some love to Class 4 because I love Class 4. Everybody knows it. I got to give some love to the small schools, man. But Kevin, then we're heading down to the Southwest in week 6. 2 teams that I think are going to be very interesting and see how they get into the overall state mix. And that we have Nixa at Kickapoo. I think Kickapoo has they're a little more senior heavy. Nixa has a lot of young talent. They graduated a lot of guys. Your thoughts on these 2 teams?
2 of the more talented teams in the state to start out. Nixa was on the map in a big way last year. They had couple sophomores that were huge impact players now that kind of, take over the team. And Adam McKnight, who's a 3-sports star, but physical right-handed hitting outfielder. And then they had the TCU commit, who was a future gamer, and Cam Miller, 2-way talent, third baseman / right-handed pitcher. So those guys will be leading the way. They also have some younger players as well. But I am excited about Kickapoo this year. I think they got the makings of a really good team for this season. Brody Wilson is going to lead the way for him on the mound. Big physical righty in the low 90s with a sharp, hard slider that you can run into the 80s, which isn't super common in high school baseball. So that's what I would call a real slider. He has a younger brother that's a freshman that is, pretty talented kid. You never want to, say what a freshman will or won't do on varsity, but he's going to make an impact sooner rather than later, and one of the super talented kids in state. So that's going to be a fun matchup. When did you say that date was, Brian?
That is going to be, hang on, let me pull that back up. That will be week 6. I think it's on I think that's a Thursday. I think that's the Thursday that week, which I think is the 28th or 29th of that week.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So
one I'd like to be at.
April. So be there. Aloha, man. Come on down.
Should be mid-season form by then.
Exactly. Dave, there's some 27s on this Kickapoo squad, and I know they're pretty senior heavy too, but Keegan, what is it? Brueggemann, Dawson Eftink, and Cale Crowley, some 27s. I'm not quite sure if you've seen any of these kids in your travels.
Eftink's a Jackson kid, right?
That's what I would have said.
Did I
they
have
have Nicholas
spot?
Nicholas Long.
Yeah, Eftink is a Jackson kid, and I've seen him within the last 2 weeks. So,
I said
this.
I was on the wrong line, guys. Sorry, Nicholas Long, Connor Smith, and Joshua Blecka. There it is. And then there's the Bryson Dinwiddie kid as well. My fault. Gotta get to the right line.
You had me confused. I'm like, man,
you're going. What the heck, man? You went from Springfield to Jackson that quick? Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I honestly don't know too much about those kids. I do know the one that Kevin mentioned, Brody Wilson. Man, he was on a talented athletics pitching staff this summer with a lot of guys that could run it into the low to mid 90s, and he was by far their best pitcher. He absolutely competed. He beat the best teams that they played, and he was doing it, 87 to 89 with, like Kevin said, a masterful slider. He's a really tough offering. It's a little bit of cross body, and it's a tough look for hitters. Yeah, I've seen the hitter's view of it. It doesn't look fun, but he's impressive, highly physical. Most State, Kev, is that right?
Yes, most State.
Yeah.
And then Nicholas Long is one of the stronger, more physical right-handed hitting bats in the state. So that's a pretty good punch right there with those two kind of leading the way.
Kickapoo is
Long headed anywhere?
Not yet.
He's uncommitted. Okay.
I like how he said not yet. He didn't say no. He just said not yet. Just got to make sure you get that right. Week 7, we're coming back home again. I'm going to some schools, giving the GAC a little work here. Warrenton will travel to Orchard Farm. I think Orchard Farm is going to be a tough team to beat in Class 4. They got their work cut out for them, but I think the second year here with Coach Sugar, he's got the talent. He's got 3 arms and a catcher over there, and he's got some guys in that lineup that can swing it. Blake Hallra behind the plate, and then you have Rosenberg and Kelch and Fisher behind them, and you've got I think he's got a couple of younger guys too that can get up on that mound and pitch as well. I think he's got some depth there. I think Orchard Farm is going to be fun to watch. Kevin, thoughts?
Yeah, no, we've talked about Orchard Farm, and I know that's like your secret favorite team. I think you're the leader of the fan club on that one, but I do like this Orchard Farm ball club as well. A lot of good pieces. Yeah. Did you say you're doing a game out there week 6?
Yeah, no, this is week 7. This is our game of the week.
Week 7. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think, there's a Class 4, on this side of the state. I mean, MICDS, of course, you got to deal with a lot. But I think in that district, they got a pretty good shot at coming out of that district. I do.
I would agree. Orchard
MICDS is Class 5 this spring also.
That's right. You're correct.
Yeah.
And we know that because they're private school, I guess, and the points, we already know that they're bumped.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, the powerful Principia.
They'll be more than fine.
Is going to be Class 4.
Who's
Principia,
that?
Class 4.
Principia.
The powerful Principia or Prinfield. how I like to say it, will be Class 4.
Hey, to that point though, MICDS, I don't know, man. I understand they'll be fine, but Class 5 you get into, it's just a little different.
It is. Yeah.
It's a little different. Kevin's like,
Is Vianney back up to 6?
6. They're back up to 6. Now that's a team I think they'll be just fine in Class 6.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Agree.
I mean, I've mentioned it before. The only 2 teams they lost to last year were Class 5 teams in Westminster and Platte. So
Good. We've had enough of these guys. We're going to go play Class 6.
Oh, mercy. Week 8, first week in May. 2 teams that I think are going to be very, one, and that is Lindbergh is going to visit Eureka. These 2 teams are stacked. And I think that, again, another one this is truly a game of the week. Dave, you know the Lindbergh guys over there pretty well.
yeah, are you getting that game? Is that a Tuesday or a Wednesday game?
It's a Tuesday game.
So you'll get the ones because that's the first game of their. They do home and homes there. So it's usually 1v1. So you're talking Jack Polite versus Jackson Joggers, I would assume.
That's if Polite's healthy. That's if he's healthy.
Oh, he'll be fine.
You think he'll be fine? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's still able to throw a baseball. He's good. So you'll have those 2 guys going head to head, marquee matchup right there. Polite, who will be a D1 commit somewhere, and then Jackson, who's going to SEMO. Then you've got, obviously 2 loaded lineups of, lineups that are sending kids off to college. And that's going to be tons and tons of fun. Like I said, I would love to come call that game with you. It just be
absolutely
a part of that experience in that environment,
Absolutely. Hey, it is a Wednesday. It is a Wednesday game. So we'll have the backside of that. We'll have the backside of it.
Still 2 very good arms.
Yeah.
We'll be throwing possibly Austin Jones for Lindbergh. I actually just got word from Coach Michelle, who dropped a little note at my desk here. Austin Jones is 29 hits from the school record at Lindbergh. So, you figure he's poised to beat that this year, which is a really cool accomplishment for AJ, who's headed to Jeffco. I mean, it could even be John Calcaterra on the bump that day. You just don't know, right? You've got Nathan Lease, and you got lots of depth on that Lindbergh roster, and Eureka's going to run out one of their Division I arms, so it'll be fun.
I was about to say, it really doesn't matter what day you see those 2 teams on, is because what separates them from the other high school teams is their amount of high-end pitching depth. So their 1, 2, and 3 are aces on just about any high school team, or a large majority of them. So, you seeing them in game 2 or even game 3 of the week, there's not going to be much of a drop-off. And that's how you end up with a big win-loss record of stacking up a bunch of wins, is you're able to run out a quality starter. And when I say quality, I mean a legitimate, frontline guy each time. Those teams are both set to have monster springs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I scroll X and I'll see a kid who's 85, and he goes, but that's where he goes.
You got to say all that again, Dave, because you froze.
I said I'll be scrolling X or Twitter, whatever they call it now, and I'll see a kid who's 85, 87 in the bullpen, and I'll look down. Oh, go figure. He goes to Eureka.
It's true, right? It's true. My goodness.
We want to talk about some of those Eureka guys. Positionally, Tyler Sweeney is an absolute stud. Shortstop, leadoff hitter, hit over 390 for them. Craig Ringy headed to SLU, been a mainstay on their infield. Carson Luthauser headed to Evansville, who's a dynamic catcher, maybe one of the best catchers in the Midwest. Offensively, they could almost match what they're doing on the mound, and that's really hard to do in high school, is to have a lineup of future college hitters, almost 1 through 9. AJ Scott, who's also he's a good left-handed hitting catcher for them. I mean, they're loaded up and down, and there's going to be kids on that team and on that roster that no one's mentioned that just all of a sudden turn into studs as well throughout the spring.
And they have one of the best sophomores in the state in terms of raw ability in Jackson Leonard. So it's going to be interesting to see where he fits in. It's a 6'5" or 6'6" right-handed pitcher slash bat. Who's going to be a fun one to watch, but it'll be interesting to see how they bring him along, as Dave just went through their entire roster. So it's not like they're hurting, for filling out a lineup card. But this guy's such an impact player. I would suspect that he would start to serve some sort of a role on the varsity team, whether that's out of the bullpen or as maybe a fourth or fifth starter, or possibly hitting somewhere, in the back part of the middle of the lineup there for Eureka. But that would be another name to keep an eye on for that Eureka team.
That's why I think Eureka.
Sorry,
you're okay. Go ahead.
The two-way players they have too, right? I mean, John Habercorn's a SEMO commit on the mound, but he's also probably going to hit in the middle of that lineup. He's a big physical right-handed hitter. Kate Gustafson headed to Moso. He's a dynamic first baseman, outfielder, hits from the left side. I mean, there's just so much that they can do, and they're so versatile, and they can just come at you from so many different ways. And the way Coach Strage runs that offense, where it is similar to like a UCM or a Willard, where they do run a lot and they do play small ball. Like if you can get a couple bunts down and you get a couple free bases, and the next thing you know, the 5 or 6 hole hits a tank, that's it can become 10-0 real fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I think Eureka has a slight edge over some of these other top teams that we talked about. Just the experience wise, they brought back pretty much their whole team from last year, and they were good last year and they got a long way last year, but just that experience up and down the lineup, understanding who you are, what you got to accomplish. I just think that's why I give them a bit of an edge over some of these other squads, just from that experience factor. I just do. I think it's an interesting dynamic. And then you have plus arms everywhere. So there you go. Week 9, guys, we're heading down to Jackson. We're going to do this one again. We did this a couple of years ago. CBC is heading down to Jackson. It's the first time we're going to get to see CBC. Offensively, that team looks like just they can mash up and down it. And I don't know that I haven't seen a CBC team that just just rake. The question for CBC, we'll see who is on the mound. But Jackson, on the other hand, I think that's a team that's going to be very difficult for anybody, even Lindbergh in District 1. Dave? Go ahead, Kevin. Jump in there.
No, I was going to say I agree. I was just in Jackson on Monday night. They opened up a brand new facility down there that's beautiful. And, I've talked about them before. I think they're one of the best at running an entire program. It's my favorite game day atmosphere there, just the way they do baseball in general with their field and the stadium, and announcing the walk up, not only music but announcing the players' names and concessions and press spot. The whole thing is done right. And I wish we could put together a video of how they do a game day and send it to everybody, everybody's administration, and just tell them to follow this blueprint, and we'd be in a great spot for Missouri high school baseball. But on the field, there's a lot of talent. Certainly. I'm sorry. Drew. They're led by Drew Parsons, two-way talent, going to SEMO, on the mound, and behind the plate. Strong-armed righty. They can run it up to about 90. They made a good run, won districts last year. So a lot of experience there as well. And I would expect them to be right back in the fold this spring. Probably even honestly better than they were last year. Now, whether they can replicate the postseason success they had, different story. What time shall tell. But there's no reason they shouldn't have a really nice spring this year.
Dave?
Couldn't agree more with Kevin. I mean, yeah, Parsons is very, very good at many things. I really like him on the mound, but at the same time, he's dynamic behind the plate too. Stops the running game. They've just got some physical kids. They've got some physical right-handed pitchers that are 27s and 26s that are running it up close to 90. Grant Brown, I believe, is one. Is that name right, Kevin?
Yeah, we hit him in future games, and that's another guy that was a 91 mile per hour guy. You can talk about him, but F Tink is another physical bat that they have in the middle of that lineup, and seems like a lot of those kids are just strong, put together.
They are, absolutely. Yeah, for those who don't know, Jackson is the home of Dawson F Tank, right? So
yes,
let's get that out of the way now.
We'll get to. I just was on the wrong line, man. Come on.
You're good. Now when we played them last spring, like leading right into districts, they ran a couple guys out there who could throw it through a brick wall, and I'd never heard of them before. And I'm like, who the heck is this? Like, who's this sophomore throwing 88 at us right now? So they're highly physical. I think F Tink have 6 or 7 home runs last year as a sophomore. He's got a lot of juice. Yeah, for me, so you're talking about a district that's going to have Lindbergh, Jackson, Oakville, possibly
Seckman.
Yeah, Seckman for sure. Possibly Kirkwood, could be there. Maybe Vianney goes there now that they're class 6 again. Like that could be a really strong district. And it's anyone's district. If you ask me, that's a tough one.
I think it's getting as bad as District 8, Kevin. It's getting pretty close.
I'm not going to toe that line with you, to be honest, but it is a really good district, and it is it's a deep district, and it's one of those districts where you look at it, and Jackson is the perfect example. They were the 4 seed, if memory serves me correct, and came out and won that district. So I think there was legitimately 5 teams that could have, you play that district enough time, there would have been about 5 teams that won it, that could win it, and the 4 seed came out, and I don't call that like an upset. Some years you might say, oh, that's a Cinderella story. I didn't get that feeling with that Jackson squad. I think it was just a really dang good district that had 5 or so, maybe 6 even, really great high school baseball teams in there. So I think it's going to be highly competitive. Now, who knows this year when they redraw the districts and everything, where that'll sit. And, we talk about programs. You've heard me talk about a good team versus a good program. And, no greater example of why Jackson we're continuously talking about him. We're not talking about him just this year. We'll be talking about him in 3 years, just like we were talking about him 3 years ago. I walk into the facility on Monday night about an hour before my event, and they got their youth teams, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds, all just hitting in the cages, practicing, and it's the young Jackson kids in the community, all wearing Jackson shirts in red, and they got them already training and doing their system, and we've talked about that with Willard, and that's one of the benefits of being in a smaller community is that stuff is easier to pull off. Now, we've talked about how there's benefits to being in the large community, because then you can go over and hit with Coach Wiggins or something like that, and you've got so many great instructors. But that is one of the benefits that a Jackson has, is they get these kids playing together literally from the start, 6, 7 years old, and they play all the way through high school together. There is some sort of team chemistry that is certainly a benefit there. Wouldn't you agree, Coach Wiggins?
Oh, I mean, those kids, they grow up and their dream is to play high school baseball for Jackson, long before their dream is to play college ball. So they wear that uniform with immense pride. To me, I think that's the biggest thing, right? I think a lot of times, especially before these new rules, we would be talking to 7th and 8th graders about where they wanted to go to college before we even asked them where they were going to high school. And I just don't think you see that in those rural areas. I think the immense sense of pride that they get for playing for their hometown and
Yeah.
playing in front of that crowd just means so much to them.
Yeah, I agree. And you could probably tell if you can't, I don't know, but you can probably tell I have those two teams close in the rankings. So there you go. We have one more. We have one more week because Illinois they have 1 week longer than the state of Missouri, and we're going to go back over for another game of the week and two teams that I think are going to be very good over there. Freeburg, who has quite possibly the best, I don't know. No, I can't say it, but it's close to the top. It's in the top 3 of the mascot names. Freeburg is taking on Triad. That's over in Troy. But do you know what the Freeburg mascot is? Do you guys know? Go ahead, Dave.
Yes.
One. I don't.
The midget.
Yep. The Freeburg Midgets. I love it, man.
Not to be outdone by the Centralia Orphans.
Or I mean, it's just full of them over there. You got the Tutopolis wooden shoes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You have the Pekin Dragons, and before they were the Dragons, they were a derogatory term that I'm not going to say. So you've got some interesting names over there in Southern Hill.
Oh, it's going to be fun. But Freeburg at Triad, that's going to be a good one. Triad's going to be pretty good this year, I think. Again, Freeburg looks like Class 2 probably could be one of the best teams in the state, and as far as in Class 2 going over there. So we will be over there for that. We're going to have a whole lineup that whole last week. We're going to spend it over in Illinois, live streaming games, and let that finish out there, because we got some good stuff. We got Belleville East and Belleville West, another rivalry game over there that week as well. So it's going to be some fun stuff over in Illinois, man. We're looking forward to it. So that's our game of the week lineup. And man, there's a lot of dudes in these games, some of the best talent, and why, this is game of the week, right? I know we didn't get to some of the other stuff, but I can't help it, man. This is good stuff. We will be finishing up. And just so you know, folks, just to let you know, we're only a few weeks away from the season where we'll be, we only have a couple more weeks of the podcasts left to go. So, and then we'll be in full-fledged baseball mode. We're going to be switching to our live show on Monday nights. We're going to be going at 7 p.m. on Monday nights with a live press box. We're going to be reviewing and previewing both youth and high school baseball for the week. We're going to have some helmet stickers that we're going to be giving out for the week. We're going to be having a lot of fun with this going live. It's really kind of, we tested it a little bit last year, kind of see. We worked on the format a bit, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this going live on Monday nights. And then we'll head out to the ballpark and be live streaming and have some fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready to go out and see some baseball. You guys ready? Well, you already were. You were out there.
We did. We went yesterday.
We've been at it already.
Exactly. That's what it is. So, guys, appreciate it. Appreciate the knowledge. That was fun. Looking forward to this, our game of the week lineup. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We got some great matchups, and we'll be dropping the schedule here for too long. And if anybody would like to, we also, if you'd like to support Youth Baseball Midwest, you can do so by partnering with us for sponsorship on our live streams. If that is something you would like to do, you can reach out to us, go to our website, contact us on our contact page, and let us know. We'd love to partner with you in that capacity. So, because we got a lot of good stuff. As you can see, we're going to be in a lot of different places. Till then, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, please. Hit the like button. All good algorithm stuff gets it pushed out. You can check out the rest of the podcast. We got just a little bit of this left. We're going to be finishing out. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers. Somebody tell them what the pitchers ought to do.
Keep throwing strikes.
I knew Dave's like, I ain't saying it. I'm sitting on a bucket. I ain't saying it. And all you hitters, please, just do it the easy way. Hit them where they ain't. We'll see y'all next time.